Squadmates have always played a large part in the Mass Effect games, and they were a huge talking point upon each and every trailer reveal for Andromeda. We have had some incredible and lovable squadmates in the trilogy for many different races, and Andromeda brought us 6 more from launch. In this video, I'm going to discuss whether the squadmates we were given were any good, and whether they were good enough to make up for a relatively small cast, as well as briefly mention whether we should have been given a DLC squadmate for the game. This video is based around my opinion, and will contain spoilers across the franchise, so let's begin. Liam, Cora, Drac, PB, Vetra and Jarl were the team that supported the Pathfinder in combat. This is a mixture between some of the most loved races created in Mass Effect, as well as one new alien squad member and the typical 2 humans. Although 6 seems like quite a small number, with Mass Effect 2 being the exception, this is actually on par with some of the past Mass Effect games. One issue that surrounds squadmates is that they need to be awesome and unique to be able to be interesting and rememberable. If this isn't the case, then the interaction outside of the missions doesn't exist, and the game will feel lacking and less like an RPG game. And some may find the appearances pretty important also, so there's a lot that these squadmates have to live up to try and please the fans. Personally, I liked all of the squadmates in Andromeda, but I should emphasise that I did not love all of them. Whilst I would much rather have the likes of Garrus, Tali and Rex alongside me, the squadmates in Andromeda gave me a good vibe and relationship with the protagonist, seeing as they only had one game to supply this and not 3. Cora is arguably my favourite squadmate across the franchise, and this surprised me because I loved Garrus, Rex and Tali. Drac was a great replacement to the former Krogan. Jarl was the needed new alien member to add extra lore and history, and the other 3 may not have been my favourite, but I did prefer them to some of the ones from the previous trilogy. Now this view may not be universal, and if you aren't a fan, then maybe you would agree that a 7th DLC squadmate should have been a thing. But even from a perspective of someone who thoroughly enjoyed this case, I still feel like a 7th squadmate was needed, and I'll tell you why. Now it's no shock to hear that Andromeda was riddled with side quests and tedious assignments, which felt quite repetitive. With an extra crew member, they'd bring extra humour and banter for one example driving around in the Nomad, which felt like all the time. Not to mention another loyalty mission, which I thought were some of the best missions in the game. But here's another reason why it would make sense and would be a perfect addition if there will ever be a Quarian Art DLC. So as we all know, there are a ton of absent races from the Milky Way galaxy that really felt missing, and this was because they were all stowed away on this arc. Although I love the Turians, Asari and Krogan, I still love a squadmate of most races to enhance choice, learn something new and fill the gap as to how open Andromeda is. So the Quarian arc would seem like the best way to add this. Surely I'm not the only one picturing a Hanar squadmate or an Elcor tank, but I'd assume if we were to get a new squadmate as DLC, it's likely going to be a Quarian. Now rewinding the clock just a little bit, but all the way back to the first mission back on Habitat 7 in Andromeda, and this is before you inherit the role as Pathfinder. We are just introduced to the protagonist we players, and we're part of the Pathfinder team, along with Cora, Liam, a medic and a few other soldiers named Greer, Kirkland and Fisher. And I'm pretty sure there was someone else as well. Now where I'm going with this is that the Pathfinder team, not to mention the opposite rider sibling to the one you chose to play as, is actually much larger than the team you have once you become the Pathfinder. Bearing in mind that if you hadn't recruited Drac, PB and Jarl, the team would only have consisted of just 4 individuals. So even though they are pretty much cannon fodder, Fisher and Greer could potentially have been squadmates, or at least have been seen in game after the events of Habitat 7, seeing as they were a part of the team prior to the death of Alec Ryder. I believe Fisher may have been injured, and Kirkland was shot and killed, but in terms of Greer, and even the other Ryder sibling, there isn't much of a reason why they couldn't have been or had much of a role in the game, or have been a part of the Pathfinder team to Ryder. I mean, why couldn't we have seen more of the Ryder sibling? What good was it being that their stasis pod was damaged, rendering them out the game for so long? It just felt unnecessary, and it could have been an extra squadmate for us all to have. So what's your viewpoint on the squadmates and the quantity of them? Would you have preferred a larger cast like in Mass Effect 2, or would you be more satisfied having a decent lineup of smaller numbers of them? Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to drop a like in this video if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to see all future content covering a range of BioWare games. Goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next one.